Speaking of Brad, the car finally stops and the agents take him out. He pretends to still be cuffed, but when he sees an opening he fights the men and pushes one over the cliff before stealing a gun and shooting the other. After getting a weapon and a walkie-talkie, Brad and Lila begin walking away, and Brad finally makes a huge confession. Clark had provided him with the identity of the robber, so Brad found him and killed him for revenge. Afterward he felt like a monster, that's why he had to leave Lila. However, Lila doesn't blame him. In fact, she feels guilty too because she forgot the markers in the first place. At that moment Clark locates the abandoned car and uses a walkie-talkie to contact his friend to warn him about incoming agents, but Clark doesn't think he can trust him. Moments later, they're found by another agent, but when they're about to get killed, Clark shows up and kills the man first. Clark swears he's on their side now and hides Lila and Brad in his trunk to take them back. At Noah, Anthony visits Amy again to apologize for making her cry, but he insists she needs to explore her grief and accept her mother doesn't blame her for anything. He also reminds her not to trust Tim. Elizabeth is struggling too because Tim keeps visiting her and she doesn't know if choosing him or Jonas. While Gilder begins installing extra security measures all over the facility, Nicole informs Jonas the cure isn't ready yet. Tim asks Elizabeth to choose already, and Elizabeth chooses her husband, asking her to euthanize her before she becomes a monster. Jonas does so while clinging to her dying body. In her room, Amy practices using her powers and conjures an illusion of her house and her mother, who hugs her and promises she doesn't blame her for anything. Then she gives Amy a box of matches, telling her to light her own way. At that moment Brad and Lila arrive, but they can't wake Amy up because Tim is now appearing in her mind. While Tim tries to convince Amy to accept the change, her real body is taken to the emergency room and Gilder forbids Nicole from coming with her. After another short meeting with Martinez, Gilder gathers most of the staff and tells them the project is over, so they can go home after they have a goodbye party. Nicole and Clark agree they need to save Amy, but the lock permissions have been changed and they don't have access to the labs anymore. Moments later, Amy manages to push Tim out of her mind and wakes up tied to a bed in the 4B, where all the vampires stare at her.